Hi everybody, I'm Coraon, your witch in residence on YouTube, and I'm doing a little bit of a special. Now, this was sparked by a discussion on Discord about secrecy and witchcraft. And I wanted to take the opportunity to explain why we have secrecy, both the historical and the very historical reasons, why we continue to, and my personal opinions on it going through the whole piece. Now, before I get too deep into it, I just want to remind you all that I am still in the Cheer Choice Awards. There is still voting opportunities out there. You can vote every day, and you can vote for your favorite YouTuber. And of course, hopefully you'll choose to vote for me. A link will be in the bottom description. It's really important. We are so close to getting to Vegas. And I would really appreciate you guys giving the littlest channel on YouTube the biggest shot. So please consider doing so. With that out of the way, let's dig into secrecy in the craft. Now, historically, reason why a lot of the secrecy exists is because the persecution of witches in Europe is a known historical fact. Okay, the Christian church came in, decided to eliminate all other religions, and did so with violence, with harassment, with superstitions, with anything they could think of to try to eliminate craft from European history and really bury it. And it's actually only because of Muslim scholars that we really have as much information as we do, along with monks that were writing down traditional tales to fill the back catalogs of fiction, right? They made it very clear that there was a difference between their holy stories codified in a Bible and mythology, right? Using the term myth as if to imply that ours is not as valid as theirs. Okay. Now, in order for craft to survive, it had to go hidden. It had to be secret. Now, that secrecy had changed craft very significantly. Instead of being openly practiced in the town square, potentially calling people together, going from village to village when a visiting priest or priestess was available to hold sacred circle and hold ritual, things were done very quietly. There would be one man, typically dressed in black, who would go from village to village walking, letting them know when the ritual was going to occur and where, but only letting those people know who knew to ask him or that he specifically knew. Witchcraft, as it stands now, became divided into covens or covenants, promises basically made to each other and to the gods. These covens would only have communication either with the walker, the one who was going around to the different villages, or from the priesthood who trained the person to the newly minted priesthood who was going off to work their own group. Okay? So each coven was insulated, for lack of a better term, between the coven above them, the ones that gave them the knowledge, and the coven below them, the one that they were giving the knowledge to. The idea was, if somebody was captured and tortured by Christianity, they couldn't reveal the names of the individuals involved because they didn't know them. There was no way for them to reveal information they didn't have. And in fact, the practice of a craft name, a name specifically only used by members of the coven, became a thing, so to add a further layer of security, because you may only know somebody as, I don't know, Ravenwolf, right? And if you only know them as Ravenwolf, you can't name them as Constance Goodwife, right? That's the idea, okay? So that's why you will see many practitioners out there will use what they call a craft name as their name when they're working in Wiccan circles, as a way to distinguish themselves and a way to keep that anonymity if needed. Okay. Recording devices are not allowed. Recording of any kind really is not allowed inside a Wiccan circle for the most part by most circles. The idea being, again, to maintain secrecy for the members. They can't be named if there's no distinguishing information about them. And this is just the start. These are the layers of security that were added. Traditionally in craft, actually, in the history of craft, which is worthy of your study, the person watching this now, a lot of the craft tools were either common household tools that couldn't be distinguished from somebody's regular everyday equipment, or items that could be very quickly destroyed very fast. For example, some tools were actually made of wax so that they could be chucked into a house fire and melted immediately, leaving no evidence. Others were very, very common tools, like, like say a knife or what have you, because everybody had one at that period of time. It wasn't suspicious. Okay. Thank you to Philip Heselton for letting me know this. In fact, what they used to do is they used to be coached when a witch hunter or the priest started sniffing around to say, I know there must be witches up in the hills somewhere, but I don't have any knowledge of them. That was what they would be coached to say, is because denying the existence of witches was also heretical, but admitting to it would get you in trouble. So the deal was, you'd say something like, well, I know there's got to be witches over in that village over there, but not here, right? And certainly not me. In fact, modern day, there are several practitioners out there who will openly follow, say, a Christian faith or a Muslim faith or a Jewish faith, but actually be Wiccan. But they do this to hide themselves and insulate themselves for fear of reprisal from their families or friends or loved ones. We are very, very cautious about revealing who we are and what we do, at least for the most part. Now, those are kind of the lessons that we learned during that time when we were being hunted. There's other reasons for secrecy in the craft as well, and this is going to take a little bit to explain because it's not something that comes from a lot of people's frame of reference. Wicca at its core is what's called a mystery religion. Now, what a mystery religion is effectively, it is a religion where you start and you are given some information, but as you progress in the faith and show interest and show drive and show a yearning to learn more and become more for your community, more of the secrets of that craft are revealed. So, as an example, somebody who is just starting out in craft may not be told why we do certain things or what each tool represents, but as time goes on, they learn the mysteries behind that. They learn the full story between the relationships between our gods, and doubtless countless other things. So this is an important piece to understand, is that the religion intentionally does not give you a book that tells you everything about it right away. And in fact, most books you will read will have bits and pieces of the story, but not the complete story. And the idea is because this religion is designed to be experienced in person. It's designed so that one puts in the work, one puts in the effort, one puts in the hope and the drive, and shows those they're practicing with, their coven mates, if you will, that they have an extreme vested interest in doing this, that they want to do this not just for themselves, but for the betterment of themselves and of those around them. And as that happens, deeper mysteries, bigger stories, and their part of the story will become more apparent. At least that's the idea of mystery religions. And craft very much fits into that concept of a mystery religion. So there's kind of two pieces at play there. One, we won't give you the whole story about our faith because it has to be experienced in the first person. And I can tell you that personally, experiencing it in that way is transcendent. It's wonderful. It fills you with a sense of awe and amazement that I personally very deeply enjoyed and felt very touched by it. As some of you know, I've recently been elevated in my craft, and it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And I wouldn't want to take that away from somebody by giving them spoilers. So we understand the concept of security. We understand the concept of tradition, right? And we also understand the concept that it's a mystery religion. It's supposed to, for lack of a better term, gatekeep. It's supposed to appear to the casual observer to only be available to a select few. Even though it isn't. Anyone can join in a proper open ritual space and be viewed. And in fact, if you would like, in the comments, put in if you would actually like me to do a video on how to get an invite into a Wiccan circle, what one should do, how one prepares themselves to go to a Wiccan circle. I'd be more than willing to do that video, but I'd like to see some people actually show an interest in it. The other piece of the equation, the other part of it that we get a lot is that it's not inclusive. Well, that's not exactly true. Okay. I have known witches of every creed, of every race, of every color one can imagine under the rainbow. I have seen members of the LGBTQIA plus all that community be members of craft, and actually priesthood and priestesshood as well. In fact, one of my favorite priesthood of all time is he is married to a fantastic man, and the two of them have put on some of the most beautiful rituals I've ever seen. They understand the nature of the craft that they are about, and understand that while, yes, this is a fertility religion, it's designed around the concept of men and women coming together and producing more men and women as a part of the natural cycle of life, that while they are choosing not to reproduce, they are very much part of that cycle. And that's okay, right? Witches have been unofficially marrying LGBTQIA people since before the whole discussion even became a thing. And that's another very interesting piece of craft that I do recommend someone taking a look at some point down the road. Philip Heselton, the current person who's best known for writing down the history of craft, hasn't quite gotten to the modern age yet, but that just means that there's a window open for one of you lovely researchers to go ahead and do it. So we've got a basic general understanding of that. Now let's talk about why we keep secrets today. At Hamilton Pagan Pride and Toronto Pagan Pride, we were actively harassed and attacked by a Christian church that was absolutely determined to make the day as miserable as possible for us. Our members are still harassed. There are at least 5 countries I know of off the top of my head where being a witch is a crime punishable by death. Let that sink in, okay? there is a place on, there are countries on this planet, and they're not little countries either, where wearing this will get you killed. That me existing as a witch out in the world puts a target on my head. Now, with that in mind, we have to be a little careful for that reason. For another, not everyone believes that their religion needs to be a public spectacle. And really, when you take a look at the pieces I mentioned previously, there are a lot of people that feel that the craft should remain hidden, that it should not be publicly, it shouldn't be a part of the public consciousness at all, that none of us should be aware, that none of you and people on the internet should be aware that we even exist. There are some very hardliners out there that feel that they've had such bad experiences with other people dealing with the fact that they exist, that it would be best to simply remain hidden. It also protects our membership. You know, I said in the past, you know, people cannot be turned out if we don't name names. And that still, to a large effect, is true. I could never be tempted to reveal someone's secret unintentionally if I don't know it. So, let's say I had a coven member named John Smith, and I was talking about John in context of craft. If he's not out to his family, if he's still keeping this secret because he's afraid, I've inadvertently opened him up to scorn and ridicule. And that is something I would never want to do to my theoretical friend named John Smith, much less a real one. That's why we keep it secret, okay? That's why it's hard to find us, except for on very specific days and times when we want to be in public, when we want to be seen. Now, why am I doing what I am doing right now? Why am I talking to you about it? Why did I choose to paint this target on me? And what are my opinions on secrecy and the laws concerning secrecy in the craft? Which I know I haven't directly covered what exactly is and is not. There's a very good reason for that. The reason why I have not covered what exactly is and is not the laws is, one, some of those laws are held behind, are oath-bound, what we call oath-bound, which is we have agreed not to discuss those things in the open, collectively. And we've sworn promises to not. And the other reason is, any time you name the rules that you are following, you will find someone on the internet who will attempt to rules lawyer and either say that I violated them or that that is not actually a rule. So I'm not going to go into the details on the rules. Suffice it to say, the primary concern of the rules is not giving away the secrets of the craft, not giving away the individuals involved in those secrets, and three, ensuring that the experience for newcomers is as amazing and wonderful as I experienced. So we'll leave it at those guidelines, especially because craft is one of those fun ones where we don't have too many rules, but we do have a lot of guidelines. Okay. So why are these still important to me? Well, look, a lot of the pieces I've just mentioned are why they're critical to me. Okay. I don't want to cause anyone else pain. And if I were to inadvertently out someone, I would be causing them pain. Okay. Why do I choose to be out? Look, we are reaching a new and different age where information is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. You can find information not just on craft, but on any given subject at any given time. And what we have learned is that the most powerful disinfectant for ignorance and fear is knowledge. If I know about a thing, and I know how to properly behave around a thing, I'm less concerned about that thing hurting me. If I am aware of how others want to be treated and their laws and their customs, I can follow them when in their presence and show respect. Okay. My wonderful, true friend, Cameron Pasha, is a Sufi who has very specific customs when it comes to certain practices. I always try to keep them, especially when in his presence, because it's a way to show respect. Okay. We were talking at one point about him coming up to visit. And when he did, I wanted to make sure that there was going to be non-alcoholic fancy drinks for him to have in my place, and that I knew where the local mosques were so that I could pass on that information to him. So if he was staying with me and he felt the call to prayer, he could have a place to do so. I always made sure that I knew where East was, because I know that at certain times of the day, people who follow an Islamic faith are specific to pray in a specific direction. So giving him that information would help him. These are the things that I would do for anyone. Okay. Regardless of their faith. My wife's family is, their background is Jewish, even though my wife is now Wiccan. I always try to respect their customs when visiting their temples or visiting their home, because it's their space and I don't want to impose my beliefs on them. And I hope that by doing this, by coming forward and discussing pieces of the craft with you, that when you know you're visiting a Wiccan friend or a pagan friend, you know some of the customs and you know how to show the appropriate respect to them in their home. Or if they're coming to visit you, you have what they would need to feel welcome in your home. That's how we move forward. That's being a good host to your guests and being a good guest to your hosts, which is something that we do take very, very deep importance in. Now, that's how I feel. And I am going to say this. Regardless of how I feel about any of these topics, I am going to keep to the oaths that I have sworn. And the reason being is because it is not a matter of trying to hide information from you or trying to keep things secret, but because I made those promises. That's my personal honor on the line. I will not break my oath. Okay? An oath breaker is probably the worst thing you can be inside Wiccan society, Wiccan culture. If you are an oath breaker, you are, for lack of a better term, abandoned by the people of craft, right? You are inviting your own disaster by doing so. So I will not do that. Do I believe all the secrecy that we have currently is necessary? Not really. Okay. I personally believe that because we are organized in the autonomous coven system, it prevents us from organizing as a large group to engage in, say, political action or engage in cultural, for lack of a better term, action to get more recognition among larger communities. By putting the knowledge out there that we exist, that these are all the people involved, that, you know, we as all these different covens, all these different churches are working together to the same goals, we don't get anything done in the larger political sense. Now, it does prevent some of the dangers that come with becoming a large political entity by simply avoiding the whole argument. But I personally think that some of that would definitely be, it may be necessary in the future if our goals are to be accepted by the wider world. Additionally, by me standing up and putting myself only on the line, I am saying that I am willing to stand and take that hit if needed for the people that I care about, for the people of my community, that I'm willing to stand up so they don't have to. I do think that the secrecy involving the religious experiences still needs to be there. And the reason being is, again, I want people to experience the wonder and grandeur and unbelievable sense of wholeness and spirituality I experienced by going into it without knowing exactly what I was walking into. To me, it's important that that remain. But the, who attended ritual pieces, I feel like if everyone consents to it being open, it shouldn't have to be secret. But, these are the rules. And I've made a promise to follow those rules and to stick with them, and I will continue to do so. So, this is what I wanted to explain to people, to help them understand that we do what we do for a reason, not just because we're trying to seem all mysterious and secret, but because potentially lives are on the line. And they have been on the line before, and we've seen what happens when we operate completely openly and freely. And given what I have been seeing lately with the rise of hate of specific groups because of situations happening half a world away, I really worry that others may fall into the situation I am in now. I often think about Jews that were living in Spain at around the same time as the Inquisition, or as we call it, the burning times, was happening. That they would, at a time of Hanukkah, of which, as of this recording, is the last night of Hanukkah, they would have to light their candles in a closet to hide their faith so that they wouldn't risk being killed for simply believing something that somebody else doesn't. And I worry that we are inching closer to that time again. All I can say is this. Guys, please respect our secrets. Please respect why we keep them. And please respect others' secrets, as well as trying to avail yourself of what is out there. Because the world is pretty wonderful. And it's full of all kinds of amazing wonders if you're willing to look for them. And if you're willing to put forth the effort, even secrets like the secrets the craft keeps can be revealed to you. Guys, thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys listening to my little editorial here. I want to thank you all for watching. Please consider voting for me in the Cheer Choice Awards. We are so close to making it to Vegas, and you can vote every day, or at least every 24-hour period, and I please consider doing so. It would really help me out, and it would mean a live stream and potential get-together in Vegas for myself, the Writer Brothers, and a lot of your favorite YouTubers who I'm going to do my damnedest to convince to come out and visit us while we're there. Thank you so much. Merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.